Every light in the house on the hill stays on all night. Everyone. The windows on all 4 floors, the lamps along the drive, the small bulb above the kitchen door that nobody ever uses. People in the valley below have been noticing it for over a year now. They have theories, a party that never ends. Somebody sick, somebody paranoid. Nobody guesses the truth. Which is simpler and worse. The man who owns that house has not slept in 14 months. His name is Yoon Tae-hyun. He controls the docks, the freight lines, and a great deal else that never appears on paper. Grown men lower their eyes when he walks past, and every night he sits in a chair at the end of a bright hallway, facing a door, and waits for morning. He has seen 7 specialists. He has been to 3 sleep clinics under 3 different names. He will not take the pills, because pills mean going under somewhere he cannot follow. And that is the one place he refuses to go. He is dying. Slowly, politely, in a very expensive house, and every man who works for him can see it. There is one more thing about that house. On the 2nd floor there is a small boy, 7 years old, who also does not sleep. He lies awake in blue pajamas, holding a stuffed rabbit, listening for his father's footsteps in the hallway, because a child learns fear the way he learns language. From the people who raise him, nobody in that house could fix either of them. Not the doctors, not the specialists, not the men with guns standing at every entrance. Then an agency sent a night nurse from Brooklyn. Her name was Simone Beckford. She was 36 years old. She had no medical degree, and she had spent 20 years working while the rest of the world was asleep. She was hired to sit with the boy. Nobody told her anything about his father. Nobody thought she needed to know. On her 4th night, she got the child to sleep. She did not do anything anyone would call remarkable. There was no trick to it, but Yoon Tae-hyun stood in that doorway and watched a woman he had never spoken to do the one thing his money had not been able to buy in 14 months. And the next morning, he asked her to explain exactly how she had done it. 2 questions hang over everything that comes after. What happened in that house 14 months ago that taught a powerful man to fear the dark? And what does a woman who has never been anything but the help do when the most dangerous man in the city asks her to sit beside him while he sleeps? Stay. The lights are still on. Simone Beckford saw the house before she saw anything else about the job. It was lit like a hospital. Floor after floor, every window burning against a black sky. "Is there an event tonight?" she asked the driver. "No." "Then why is every light on?" The driver did not answer. He watched the road and drove, and Simone understood that she had asked a question. People in this car did not ask. The housekeeper met her at a side door. 60s, silver hair in a low bun, uniform pressed sharp enough to cut. "Mrs. Go," the woman said. "You are the night placement. Simone Beckford. You will sit with the boy. Nights only." Mrs. Go started walking, and Simone followed. 3 rules. You do not go to the 3rd floor. You do not speak to Mr. Yoon unless he speaks first. And the 3rd. Mrs. Go stopped at the foot of a staircase. "You never turn off a light in this house," she said. "Not one. Not in a room you are leaving. Not in a hallway you have finished with. Never." Simone looked at her. "May I ask why?" "No, Mrs. Go said. Then, after a moment, in a voice that was slightly less starched, "It is easier if you simply do it." The boy was awake, sitting up in a bed too large for him, blue pajamas, holding a rabbit loved down to the thread. 7 years old, with circles under his eyes that no child should have. "Hello," Simone said from the doorway. "I am Simone." He looked at her without saying anything. "I am going to sit in that chair," she said. "That is all I am doing tonight. You do not have to talk to me." She sat. She did not fuss with the blankets or ask how he felt. She noted the time, in a small notebook, the way she had at the start of every shift for 20 years. After 11 minutes, the boy spoke. "You are not going to make me sleep." No, Simone said. I cannot make anybody sleep. Nobody can. That is not how it works. The last one tried. How did she try? She turned off the light, he said. Simone set her pen down. What is your name? June. June. I am not going to turn off your light. He watched her a while longer. Then he said very quietly, the way children say the thing they have been holding. I am not tired. My dad does not sleep. So I am waiting. Waiting for what? Until he goes to bed. Then it is safe. Simone sat with that. The most important sentence in a room is almost always said in the first hour, and almost never said again. All right, she said. Then we will wait together. She did not meet the father for 3 nights, she heard him. The house was arranged around his footsteps the way a room is arranged around a fireplace. A door at 2, a floorboard at 3:30. Once, near 4, a low, even voice on a phone. She noticed things because noticing was her trade. A shelf of sleeping medication in the kitchen. 3 brands, every box sealed. Not one opened. A heavy chair at the end of the second-floor hallway that did not belong there, dragged out of some sitting room and left facing the stairs. And men. 2 at the front, 1 at the service entrance, 1 walking the grounds every 40 minutes. Not household staff. She knew the difference between a home with security and a home under siege. On the 3rd night, she went for water at 3 and saw him. He sat in that chair at the end of the bright hallway. A tall man gone thin, black shirt open at the collar, dark ink climbing his neck, head back against the cushion, eyes wide open, fixed on the door at the top of the stairs. He was not resting. He had the look of a man holding a door shut with his body, so long that he had forgotten how to let go. He did not see her. Simone went back to June's room, sat down in her chair, and wrote 1 line in her notebook. Father is the reason. Start there. On the 4th night, she started the work. Not a trick. There is no trick. Anyone who says otherwise has never sat with a frightened person at 3 in the morning. What there is a routine. The routine is boring. Boring is the entire point. She began at 9. Same order every step, so the order itself became the message. Warm milk. Not because milk does anything, but because a warm cup in a child's hands slows his breathing and gives him something to hold. Then the lamps turned down 1 notch in the same order, so the room dimmed like an evening instead of falling like a curtain. Then a small fan on the dresser, angled at the wall. Steady, dull, unchanging. A room that makes no sound is a room where every sound is an alarm. Then she sat in his line of sight and did not talk to him. You are not saying anything, June said. No. Why? Because you are not a problem I am solving, Simone said. You are a boy who is going to bed. He was quiet for a while. The fan hummed. The lamp sat low in gold. Simone, yes, what if somebody comes? And there it was. The real sentence, 40 minutes in. Simone did not tell him nobody would come. You never lie to a child about safety. They hear it, and after that, they believe nothing else you say. I am going to sit right here in this chair, she said, facing the door, all night. You do not have to watch it. You will not fall asleep. I have been awake at night for 20 years, June. It is what I am for. He thought about that. So it is your job, he said. It is my job. You do not have to do my job for me. The boy lay down. His eyes stayed open a long time, and Simone did not look at him while they did. Being watched is work. She was trying to take work away from him. At 10:20, June Yoon fell asleep for the first time in 4 days. Simone made a note of the time, then she looked up. Yoon Tae-hyun was standing in the doorway. She did not know how long he had been there. He was very still, insane, 1 hand against the frame, and he was looking at his son the way a man looks at something he has stopped expecting. He did not speak. After a moment, he stepped back into the hallway and was gone. He sent for her at 7 in the morning at the end of her shift. The study was on the 3rd floor, which she had been told not to go to, and there was a certain grim humor in being escorted there by the same housekeeper who had made the rule. Up close, he was worse than he had looked in the hallway. Gray skin, eyes red at the rims, and too bright, the brightness of a man running on something that is not rest. His hands lay on the desk with a fine tremor he was not hiding, probably because he no longer noticed it. "Sit," he said. "Then please." She sat. "You put my son to sleep." "Yes. Nobody has done that in months." His voice was level and flat. "I want you to tell me what you did. All of it. In order." She had expected to be thanked or dismissed. Not this. It took her a second to understand. It was not suspicion. This was a starving man asking for a recipe. Warm milk at 9. Lamps down one at a time. Same order I will use tomorrow. A fan at the wall so the room has one sound that never changes. A chair where he can see me. And I did not ask him how he felt. That is all. That is not all. Those are the parts you could copy. Tae-hyun's eyes moved to her face. Then what is the part I cannot copy? He asked me what would happen if somebody came, Simone said. And I did not tell him nobody would come. I told him I would sit facing the door all night, so he did not have to. She paused. The medicine was not the milk, Mr. Yoon. It was that somebody else took the watch. The room was very quiet. You did not lie to him, Tae-hyun said. No. Children always know. Lying just teaches them they are alone with it. He was silent for a long moment. Something was happening behind his face, and it was costing him. How much do you know about this house? He said. I know every light stays on. I know there are 3 boxes of sleeping medication in the kitchen, and none of them are open. I know there is a chair at the end of the second-floor hallway that does not belong there. She met his eyes. And I know you sit in it. Who told you that? Nobody. I refill my water at 3 in the morning. Tae-hyun laughed. It was a terrible sound, dry and short, more like a cough. 14 months, he said, since you slept. Since I slept properly. I get 40 minutes in a chair in daylight sometimes. That is the whole of it. He turned his hand over on the desk and looked at the tremor as if it belonged to somebody else. 7 specialists, 3 clinics, 2 under names that are not mine. And the pills. I will not take them. Because they put you under, Simone said. He looked at her sharply. Yes. And you cannot follow yourself down there. Yes. Something in his jaw tightened. You understand it quickly. I have sat with people who were afraid to close their eyes for 20 years, she said. Fear of sleep is not exotic. It is just very lonely, because everybody keeps telling you it is simple. Tae-hyun sat back. For a long time he did not say anything at all, and then he said the sentence he had not said out loud to a living person, and he said it in the flat voice of a man reading a file. I do not sleep, he said, because the last time I did, somebody I trusted opened the door. Before we go any further into that house, do me one small thing. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from tonight. It is late somewhere for all of us, and I like knowing who is still awake out there. Now, back to the hallway. She thought about it for a full day before she said anything. That was deliberate. In her line of work, the worst mistake is offering help the moment you understand the problem. Help offered too fast feels like pity, and proud people refuse pity even when it is all that is left. So she waited, and on her 5th night, when he passed the boy's door at 2:30, she stepped into the hallway. Mr. Yoon, he stopped. You cannot guard yourself and sleep at the same time, she said. That is the whole problem. It is not chemistry. It is not your mind being broken. It is that the job of watching the door and the job of sleeping cannot be done by one person. He said nothing. So let me take the watch, Simone said. You sleep. I sit. The silence went on long enough that she thought he might not answer at all. No, he said, and walked away. He came to find her at 4 in the morning. She was in the small room off the 2nd-floor landing where the night staff waited, and she heard him in the doorway before she looked up. If I agree to this, Tae-hyun said, I want terms. So do I. That surprised him. She watched it land. Go ahead, he said. The schedule is mine, Simone said. Not yours, not your doctor's, not whoever runs your security. If I say a night is a rest night, it is a rest night. And you do not argue with me about it. You hired the trade. Let me practice it. Agreed. Second, June comes first. If he needs me and you need me on the same night, I go to him. I am not negotiating that one. Something moved across his face that she could not name. Agreed, he said. And my term. Go on. Nobody knows. His voice went flat again. Not the house. Not my men. If it becomes known that Yoon Tae-hyun requires a woman in a chair to close his eyes, there are people who will do arithmetic with that. I clean up after people at night for a living, Simone said. Discretion is most of the job. He nodded once. Tonight, he said. The first night, he sat in the chair. He would not go near the bed. Every lamp stayed on. The door stayed open. Sane. Simone sat on the threshold with her notebook on her knee, facing the hallway, her back to him. She had understood without being told that he could not be looked at while he tried this. I am here, she said. Nothing has moved. He did not answer. 40 minutes later, his breathing changed. She did not turn around. She wrote the time in her notebook. She kept her eyes on the hallway. For 1 hour and 10 minutes, the most dangerous man in the city lay unconscious in a chair while a night nurse from Brooklyn watched an empty corridor. He woke at 5, badly, all at once, the way people wake when the body still expects the worst. You are in your house, Simone said, without turning. It is 5 o'clock. Nothing has moved. She heard him breathe out. He did not say thank you. He got up and went to work. But at breakfast, Mrs. Go later reported to nobody. In particular, Mr. Yoon stood at the counter and looked at his coffee a very long time before he drank it. They built it in steps because that is how the work is done. The chair for 4 nights. Then the bed, which took longer because a bed is a promise that you will stay down. Then the lamps, 1 notch at a time, over 6 nights. Slow enough to be boring. Boring was the point. The night they went fully dark, he sat up twice. The first time she said, I am here. Nothing has moved. The second time, she said nothing at all, because she could hear that he knew. And there is a kind of reassurance that just reminds a person they are being managed. He lay back down, and in the dark, after a long while, he spoke. Do you always work nights? 20 years. Why? It started because it paid more, Simone said. Then my grandmother got sick, in the memory way, and the nights were when she was frightened. So I learned how to be useful at 3 in the morning. She was quiet a second. After that, days felt loud. Where was this? She was in Jamaica, and then she was in Brooklyn with us. She sundowned. That is what it is called, when the confusion gets worse as the light goes. Simone shifted in her chair. I was 19. I learned this whole trade in one hallway, badly on somebody I loved. Silence from the bed. That is the only way anyone learns anything worth knowing, Tae-hyun said. That became the shape of the nights. They talked, in the dark, in the hour, before he could go under. It was the strangest conversation of Simone's life, because she almost never saw his face while it happened. Just a voice across a black room. A man made entirely of what he chose to say. He told her about his mother, who had run a laundry, had a temper, and died when he was 19. He said he had not chosen this life so much as failed to leave it, and that he knew this was the excuse every man in his position made. He told her about June's mother, who had left and had been right to leave. He asks about her, Tae-hyun said. I do not know what to say. Say you do not know what to say, Simone said. He would rather have that than a good answer that is not true. A long pause in the dark. You keep saying that, because it keeps being the answer. Some nights, he never went under, and she stayed anyway, and they talked until the windows went gray. Some nights he was gone in 20 minutes, and she sat alone with her notebook and the sound of a man breathing safely. After a while, she could tell within 10 minutes which kind of night it would be. She did not examine what that meant. Hwang Ji-tae noticed. He was the head of security. 45, solid, neat, a man who had stood outside doors for a living. He had a calm, helpful face, and his eyes stayed flat when he smiled. Simone caught that the first time she saw it. He found her in the kitchen at 6 one morning. "Miss Beckford," he said in careful English, "we have not spoken. Hwang Ji-tae, I manage the house security. I know who you are. Of course," the smile. "I wanted to say, you have done something for the boy that nobody else could. That is not a small thing. This household notices. He is a good sleeper. He just needed somebody else to hold the door." Yes, a pause waited to feel like warmth. "I want you to know that if you need anything at all, access, resources, support of any kind, my door is open to you. You are an important part of this house now." Simone looked at him. Her mother had a saying about men who were warm before they had any reason to be. She thanked him. She said she would keep it in mind. Then she went to bed and lay awake a while. A man who ran security for a house this size had found time, at 6 in the morning, to be very kind to the night staff. She wondered why. 2 weeks later, she found it by accident, doing paperwork. His sleep log needed a baseline. She asked Mrs. Go for the household duty records from the previous year, and Mrs. Go handed them over without a question, having decided some time ago which side Simone was on. Simone worked through them at 4 in the morning, which was when she did her best thinking. The night was there, 14 months back. Shift changes, patrol times, gate entries, all noted in a neat hand every 20 minutes, the way a competent operation keeps records. And then a gap. Between 1:40 and 1:59, nothing. 19 minutes, on the one night in that entire house's history when 19 minutes mattered, and not a single entry. Simone sat very still in a very quiet room. Then she looked at the bottom of the page, at the name of the man who had signed for the shift. Hwang Ji-tae. She did not go to Tae-hyun with it. She thought about it for an hour, and she was clear about it afterward. She was a night nurse, not an investigator. She had no idea what a gap in a log proved, and she had watched people ruin things by being certain too early. So she took it to Park Tae-soo. He was Tae-hyun's right hand, a heavy, quiet man of 19 years with the family, who spoke about once an hour. She found him at the security desk at 5 and put the page in front of him. "I was building a baseline," she said. "For his sleep record, this is the night." Tae-soo looked at the page. "There is 19 minutes missing," Simone said. "I do not know what that means. It might mean nothing. But you should be the one to decide that, not me." Tae-soo did not say anything for a long moment. Then he looked up at her, and it was the first time she had ever seen his face do anything at all. "Leave it with me," he said. "And Miss Beckford. Do not mention this to anyone, including him. I had not planned to." "I know," Tae-soo said. "That is why I am telling you. It took 9 days. He brought it to the study, on a Tuesday morning." Simone stood at the door, because Tae-hyun had asked her to be there. "That is not my place," she had said. "It is exactly your place." That had been the end of the discussion. The shift that night was changed, Tae-soo said. 4 hours before. Not by rotation, by hand. By whom? Hwang Ji-tae. Tae-soo set down a second page. He put himself on that door. Then there is a call at 1:38 outbound, on a line that is not logged in the house system. The gap starts 2 minutes after the call ends. Tae-hyun's face did not move. "Money," he said. 3 transfers over the last 2 years. An account under his wife's family name. Tae-soo paused. "There is more, and it is worse, but that is the shape of it." The room was quiet. "Simone, watched from the doorway and saw something she would remember a long time. A man learning that 14 months of terror had not been his own weakness. It had been manufactured, it had a name, and it had been standing in his hallway every day since. He guarded that door for 9 years, Tae-hyun said. Yes, he taught June to tie his shoes. Yes, Tae-soo said. Tae-hyun stood and walked to the window and stood there with his back to the room. He will move on her first, he said. Simone straightened. Explain that. Ji-tae knows what you are doing in this house, Tae-hyun said without turning. He does not know I know about him, but he can see that I am sleeping, and he can see that I am beginning to think clearly again. And a man like Ji-tae understands exactly what that costs him. He turned around. He will not come at me. He will find a way to have you removed. Quietly. A problem with your agency file. Something small and procedural that Mrs. Go would have to act on. Can he do that? He can try. And what do you want to do about it? Simone said, I want to take you off the agency and put you on the household directly. Tae-hyun said, it puts you out of his reach without him ever knowing why. He stopped. And I am asking, he said, not telling you. If you say no, we find another way, and nothing about tonight changes. Simone looked at him for a moment. You know what the difference is between you and him, she said. He offered me resources in a kitchen at 6 in the morning. You just asked me a question and waited for the answer. She nodded. Do it. Hwang Ji-tae was finished in a conference room on a Thursday, and there was not one raised voice in it. He came in, expecting a routine security review, and found 5 people at a table and a folder in front of his chair. Tae-hyun did not shout. He turned pages. The duty log with the 19-minute gap in Ji-tae's own hand. The record of the shift change made 4 hours before, in Ji-tae's own hand. The unlogged call at 1:38, the transfers, the account. 2 years of a man being patient, in the only way patient men know how to be. You have made a mistake, Ji-tae said. His voice was calm. He was good. He had been good for 9 years. Which page, Tae-hyun said. Ji-tae did not answer that. Which page is the mistake? Tae-hyun said again quietly. Take your time. They are numbered. Nobody in the room said anything. Ji-tae's hands were flat on the table, and his face was still working very hard at being a face. You held that door for 9 years, Tae-hyun said. And then for 19 minutes, you did not. And I have spent 14 months believing there was something broken in me, when what was actually true is that I was right. Somebody I trusted did open that door. He closed the folder. You did not just try to have me killed. You took away my ability to close my eyes in my own house. My son has not slept properly in over a year because of what you did. He is 7. Ji-tae said nothing at all. Everything in this folder goes where it needs to go, Tae-hyun said. Your name comes off every door it has ever opened. And you will answer for it, under the law, all of it, with every page attached. 2 men came in. Ji-tae stood before they reached him, because he was, to the very end, a man who chose how he moved. At the door he stopped and looked back, and there was a last word forming. And then he looked around the table at the faces of men, who until that morning had considered him somebody. What he saw was worse than anger. It was the removal of consideration. He had stopped being a person they were counting. He left without speaking. That night, Simone sat in her chair in the dark and heard Tae-hyun's breathing go long and slow after 11 minutes, which was the fastest he had ever gone under. She wrote the time in her notebook. And then she sat in the dark for a while and let herself feel it, whatever it was. And then she put it away again, because there was still 1 night left that he had not passed. The summit was in a house on the coast that belonged to nobody at the table, which was the point. 4 organizations, 2 days, every party under 1 roof. That was the tradition, and the tradition was the entire security guarantee. You slept in the house. You slept unarmed. It was the oldest way of saying, I will not touch you. Refusing said the opposite, very loudly. Tae-hyun had not slept outside his own home in 14 months. You do not have to go, Simone said. If I do not go, I have announced that I cannot. Then I am coming with you. As what? As your medical staff, she said. Which I am. I am not going to pretend to be anything else. And you are not going to dress it up. If somebody asks, you tell them the truth. You have a nurse. Men your age have nurses. He looked at her for a long moment. That is not how it will be read. I know exactly how it will be read, Simone said. I have been read that way my whole working life. Let them. It went the way she had said it would go. 7 men were in that hallway on the first evening. Every one of them watched a black woman in navy scrubs carry a bag into Yoon Tae-hyun's room, and everyone drew the cheapest possible conclusion. One said it out loud, a heavy man from the west side, not quite quiet enough as they passed. He brought a bedside nurse to a table of men. Simone did not react. She had a lifetime of practice, and reacting would have made it his moment instead of hers. Tae-hyun's face did not change either, but something in his shoulders did. She put a hand on his arm, and he let it go. The room was wrong in every way a room can be wrong. Strange bed, strange sounds, a window she could not see the approach to, a door with a lock he did not control, and a hallway full of men with every reason to want him gone. She did what she always did. She set the fan on the dresser, angled at the wall. She turned the lamps down 1 notch at a time, in the same order she had used for 100 and some nights. She put her chair on the threshold facing the hall, her back to him. Simone. Yes, there are 19 men in this house tonight, and I know what 4 of them are worth to me at most. I know. I do not think I can do this one. Simone did not turn around. Probably not, she said. So do not do this one. Do the next 10 minutes. That is all I have ever asked you for. The fan hummed against the wall. I am here, she said. Nothing has moved. He went under at 20 past midnight. He did not surface until 4:30. Simone Beckford sat awake in a strange house full of dangerous men and watched a doorway for 4 hours and 10 minutes. Somewhere around 3 it struck her that this was the most ordinary thing she had ever done. He walked into that meeting room the next morning, shaved, straight-backed, and awake. The men at that table had spent 14 months watching Yoon Tae-hyun deteriorate and had made their plans accordingly. What sat down with them at 9 was somebody they had not seen in 2 years. The room adjusted within 10 minutes, the way rooms do. At the end, in the hallway, the heavy man from the west side said something pleasant and glanced at Simone and made a small joke about how well the nurse must be looking after him. Tae-hyun stopped. You said I brought a bedside nurse to a table of men, he said. His voice was perfectly level. You were not wrong about what she is. You were only wrong about what that is worth. He did not wait for a reply. There was nothing anybody could have said to it. They drove home in the afternoon. June met the car and threw himself at his father, and Tae-hyun picked him up. He had not had the strength to do that in a year. That evening, Simone did the accounting she had been avoiding. June was sleeping. Tae-hyun was sleeping. By any honest measure, the work was done. And she had an old rule about that, from 20 years of walking into people's worst nights and back out again. You do not stay past the work. Staying past the work is how you start needing to be needed. She found him in the kitchen at 9 and told him she would arrange a proper handover with whoever came next. Tae-hyun set down his cup. No, he said, that is not really your call. It is not, he agreed. So I am going to say the true thing instead, and then it is your call. He looked at her. Stay, not for the work. I can hire the work. Simone stood very still. You can, she said. I have hired the work 7 times. Specialists, clinics, A man in Vienna who charged more than a house. He shook his head slowly. It was never the work. It was that you sat facing the door and told me nothing had moved, and I believed you. I have not believed anyone in 14 months. Tae-hyun, I am not asking you to answer tonight. I am going to answer tonight, Simone said, because I have been awake at 4 in the morning thinking about this for weeks, and I am too old and too tired to be coy about things at my age. He waited. I am not staying because you need me, she said. I want to be very clear about that, because I have watched people build a whole life on being needed, and it is a bad foundation, and it falls down. She took a breath. I am staying because at some point in all those dark rooms I stopped working and started listening. And I have not wanted to leave a house at 6 in the morning in a very long time. Tae-hyun crossed the kitchen. He did not touch her face. He took her hand, the way you take something you intend to be careful with. And he held it, and that was all, and it was more than enough. Same time tonight, she said. Same time tonight, he said. Down in the valley, a man walking his dog late that evening looked up at the hill, the way people down there had been looking up for over a year, at the house that never went dark. As he watched, a window on the 4th floor went out, then 2 on the 3rd. Then the long row along the 2nd, one after another, unhurried, the way a house is closed by somebody in no hurry. The lamps along the drive, the small bulb above the kitchen door that nobody ever uses. And then the house on the hill was dark, and it stayed dark, and everyone inside it was asleep. Before you go, here is what I want to know. Who would you have to trust before you could fall asleep in a room with them? Tell me down below, and I will read everyone.